was with Dr. Pai and Dr. Nadita for the 10 beautiful years of my life. I headed the DY Patil Center with them, and I learned a lot with them. Okay, and I learned not only about the IVF, a lot about how do you handle confidences, work hard, party harder. That was the main thing. And as for every doctor, I was so lucky to be with DY because there, we all know we need to do procedures, assess procedures, and teach procedures. And we had a fellowship, lovely fellowship program there too. So we taught a lot of students there, and that was really fantastic 10 years of my life. And now I'm stepping into my new shoes and going ahead with my new innings with Apollo Fertility. And I'm looking forward for, let's hope for getting good work to be done with Apollo Fertility. So past, present, and the future. So past, as we know, everybody should learn from the mistakes, what they were done in the past. Present, know what is happening in the present life. And the future, what innovations, what's happening, that will give us the progress. Origins, you know, before in the olden times, the myths and legends tell us the stories about miraculous births of people having hundreds of babies, the Mahabharata. And then in 1900, the fertility issues were not even seen by doctors, but it was better off going to religious authorities. Fertility was considered so important that any trouble with it was considered as direct punishment by God. So after that, the history is interesting. Like in 1934 at Harvard, a scientist was playing around with the rabbits, and yes, the rabbits got pregnant with IVF, and everybody went against him and denounced him and said it's unethical work and you cannot play God. But within few years, in 1978, with the birth of Louis Joy Brown, gave hope to millions of infertile patients. Public opinion suddenly reversed almost overnight in favor of IVF. Innovation of IVF, yes, in few decades from IVF, within last 30 years, we are doing ICSI. And the success rates, what were 10%, has gone up to about 30 to 40% now. It's just under 30 years that ICSI has started. And wherein we just take a single sperm and inject into the egg, it helps a lot of people with low sperm count. Demographic trends. Previously, people used to get married by 18, 20, have their family by 23, 24, complete their family by 28. Now, people do not get married before 32, 34 years of age. So at least we should talk to people where are career-oriented females about egg freezing. Egg freezing is really important. People should bank their eggs at an earlier age, maybe at 30, 31. Let them decide their career. If they want to get married later, doesn't matter. But everybody should talk about egg freezing now. The risk factors that are leading to high prevalence of infertility, lifestyle, increasing maternal age. Nobody wants to get married early, or they just want their career to be settled. Nothing settles that easily. So we have to go ahead and decide, take the decision. Increasing number of working women, rising alcohol and tobacco abuse, consumption, high level of obesity. Clinical factors, you see a lot of PCOD, sexually transmitted disease, endometrial tuberculosis. And studies also suggest that South Asian women have poor ovarian reserves compared to the Caucasian women. And they have a poor outcome of infertility too. Infertility in India. India faces a serious challenge with high infertility rate and low fertility treatment. The IVF market is highly underpenetrated. Demand being 9 to 12 times higher than the current market, even in large metro cities. Affordability, access, awareness, and assurance are the key barriers that limit the diagnosis and treatment in India. Infertility in India, there are around 27.5 million people who are infertile. Only 270,000 people come ahead for treatment. And around 65,000 patients have got treated. In 2015, there were about 1 lakh cases of IVF done. The infertility market is highly fragmented, with very few players performing more than 1,000 cycles per year. The market is fragmented. If you see, there are less than 2 to 4 centers performing more than 1,000 cycles, around 5 to 7 centers performing about 500 to 1,000 cycles per year. The IVF market in India is growing at a robust rate of about 20%, but the penetration is still very low compared to the other global markets. What is the strong focus? We should focus on the referral marketing, collaboration with the young IVF specialists, gynecologists. There's so many gynecologists who want to know how to go ahead. So we can at least train them, like stimulate the patients, and you can send them to our centers. Do not go ahead continuously doing IUIs around 10, 12. There should be some limit. Do around 4, 6 indicated IUIs. When the time is right, shift them for IVF at the right time. And training of good gynecologists, educational marketing campaigns, international protocols, and state-of-the-art technology. If you have a good lab with everything, you know, the lab is with a modular lab, with the AHU, I'm sure everybody's going to get good results. Affordability. With the cost of IVF in India is 3 to 4 times lower than in the US. Treatment is unaffordable for around 80% of the population due to low average housing income. People cannot afford. People earn 2 lakhs per year, and how can they afford an IVF cycle? The majority of the public and private insurance programs do not cover fertility. I think we all gynac should put an PIL and make sure that there is some insurance company going to help us now. A small pool of senior IVF specialists in India with limited brand portability, limited organized training of fellowship program, for building in pool of skilled IVF specialists and embryologists. Few specialized IVF chains with established brand. Lack of diagnostic offerings. Like, you know, if you see in these small hospitals, they might be having only 36% offered only IUI treatment. No public sector are doing any IVF. The propensity to seek fertility treatment is high as the need for parenthood and social status of parenthood is very high in India. People can do anything. Very low income group and very high income group are the same. They can give anything just to have a child, whatever. Lack of regulatory framework. Now, as they were talking about the ART bill coming in, so everything should change. Opportunities. There are limited number of IVF specialists in India, and the brand portability of many doctors is limited only to small region. Some IVF specialists extend their brand value by consulting in several cities. So one doctor, how many cities can they go ahead? Maximum 5, 6 cities? They can do maximum 80 cycles, and that's it, you know. They cannot go ahead more than that. The field of specialty is not increasing due to lack of training availability for the junior doctors. There is I don't think in a gynac they have to add IVF. They need to teach them what is IVF, because after they come out, they finish the MS, they have no idea whether, do they have interest, what is it? So there should be a subject already added in while doing the gynac. A large international study demonstrated that Indian seems to have a high propensity to seek fertility treatment, but the awareness is a major barrier. People are not aware of IVF. We have to do government has to do to let people know, let them be aware. There is treatment. Need for the parenthood is the greatest in India and lowest in Japan. Social status of parenthood is more influential in India and China, and less valued in countries in higher level of economic development. Awareness of fertility problem is lowest in India. With more infertile couples coming forward for treatment, the IVF market is estimated to grow in 2020 by 20%. So hopefully, we'll be doing around 260,000 cycles in 2020. So why? Because the income is increasing. Now, people are going to be making decent amount of money. And so typically, like the IVF cycle cost around 1,50,000 to 2,50,000. So there is something called as a CRISPR, which is a gene editing technology. This mechanism, this is the future. Actually, CRISPR is going on now. So here, the mechanism behind this is the attempt to edit out bits of DNA that prevents an embryo from developing properly, which may answer important questions about infertility. What is the future? The future is exogenesis. This concept of exogenesis has been not yet accomplished. For example, Japanese investor developed a lamb up to halfway through the gestation. So the baby is not in the womb, it's outside, it's going in vitro. So an exogenesis can be achieved, and I feel sure that it will be sooner or later, and it would eliminate the necessity for surrogacy. and the social and legal complications associated with that technology. And I'm really looking forward for that. So I think, Anubhav, we should look into that and go ahead and research and develop. And somatic reproduction, that is, eliminate the need for donor gametes. We do not need donor gametes and eliminate the complications caused by the use to achieve genetic lineage. So we can use the eggs and the sperms. We do not need to go for donors. Efforts need to be made to accelerate the development of viable gametes from homologous somatic cells. In short, we need to pursue the road to somatic reproduction. Thank you.